And hi there. Today we're going to talk about number 88 Tarbet Drive in Bolton BL2. So let's get into it. We're going to try and make this a speedy one. So not quite as much detail as ever, but we'll see how we get on. A lot depends on whether we need to dwell upon various points or not. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just rattle through this, and my first observation is that is an old roof, which is probably original to the property. There are some slipped slates. We're going to see a lot more detail with the viewer, so that doesn't bode well. And also, there's some gutter issues here, which is why you're getting all this water here, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if you see some damp on the interior, but I don't think it's rising damp. And it looks like it was renovated in the 80s. Reason being pressed doors. Well, actually, okay, so this is more recent. So it has had a reasonably recent renovation, I would say, but that boiler looks to me like it's 1980s, 90s, maybe 90s. I'm going to go for 90s on this kitchen, and the reason I say that is because I think some of these are original, but this is a newer door, which doesn't quite match the others, but so that would be my guess. And also I can see by the tap as well, and the cooker. So, okay, 1990s renovation. It looks to me like it's a 1960s house, but you may be able to tell me otherwise, Martin. And yeah, it's got this classic kind of seashell scalloped look, which was a very 90s thing. Got some damp in here. That's just due to lack of ventilation. Also, you got some more senior people living in this house because those handles are used by, are issued by the National Health and National Health Service and so on. Now, this is kind of interesting. I don't know if there's a damp issue in here.
Don't have really data for when it's built, but I'm trying to sort out when it is.
Yeah.
But it should be around 50s.
Yeah, one of the issues with properties like this is lack of insulation in the roof. Do you know what the EPC is?
Yeah, I'm checking now.
This roof is in a fairly
doesn't have data. Doesn't have data.
Okay, fine. All right. Well, let's have a look at the viewer stuff because that's going to reveal a lot of detail. And we have some quite high resolution pictures. Without even looking at the viewer stuff, I would say I'm concerned about some aspects of the condition. Obviously, carpets need replacing, fine. This is problematic because there's some issue with the roof. They've tried to fix it or at least patch it up. It hasn't really worked. And I would guess it's all to do with the chimney and water getting in around there. And you can see that they've tried to patch this up on a couple of occasions, but it hasn't really worked. And therefore you got water coming in. There's a lot of moss on this roof. That's okay. I can't quite tell whether it's slate or some kind of tile. I'll say that it's a slate. Sorry. I don't know. I don't know if it's a slate or a tile. I can't quite tell. I'm erring towards it's some kind of slate effect tile. So it's not actually slate. It's like, looks like slate, but it's not quite. Gutter needs sorting out. That's a bit of a mess. It's just a property that's had moderate renovation like 15 years ago. They didn't renovate the roof. They've had issues with the roof. You can see the fascia board is quite old. So I would say 1970s original roof. Some aspects of this property have never been touched, and therefore you're going to have to spend, as it were. Things like the door, for example, on the garage, it could do with a new garage door, I think. And backyard looks okay, needs a good jet wash to make it fresh. This is classic where you've had handrails that were inserted because you had elderly people who couldn't get up and down the stairs easily. Again, more damp issues. It's the roof. The roof needs a really thorough assessment.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So that window pane needs replacing, but at least the exterior one's still there. It's not too bad. It's just kind of troubled. And again, damp. It needs a lot of roof work.
I need to set it's avoiding.
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you, but not for the reasons you think, I suspect, Martin. So you're saying condition issues, be aware. Yes, yeah. It's had lots of leaks. The roof has had lots of problems. The question is, does the roof need replacing? And
I don't think so, but look how many dumps it have. I think nobody, the people who live there, they didn't really care. There was elderly people, and
it's not that they didn't care, they couldn't care, if that makes sense. They weren't going to be able to deal with tradespeople, try and get on the loft. They would rather just put up with some damp and get on with it. I would say that this is not slate, that it's a slate effect tile, and that it's generally okay, that the flashing needs doing, the ridge tiles need doing. The big lurking issue for me is the EPC problem.
It doesn't have.
Yeah, and so being a 1970s house, they wouldn't have had good insulation underneath the plasterwork. And if you want to do that, you have to then pull out lots of plasterwork and put insulation in. It's just hassle. So there's lots of like hassles here, and fascia boards need redoing, gutters need sorting out, damp needs sorting out, but fundamentally it's going to be built okay. It's going to have damp-proof coursing. To me, it feels like you're up in the 12 to 15,000 pound range for renovation. But the other issue is that it's a bungalow with a dormer, and it means that you have much less good usable space than you would if it was a property with if it was a property with full-sized. Let's have a look at this. With the eaves mean you have unusable floor space, so it says it's bigger, but in reality it's smaller, and therefore you've got to factor that in when thinking about your numbers. So we've been asking people to do portrait just because it means we can get the total view on the property and high resolution, which is helpful. Laminate flooring looks okay, actually, and I would keep that. It doesn't look like it needs changing. Balustrades are all building regs friendly. It needs painting and decorating. Got some cracking here, obviously. That's not a huge deal. This kitchen, this bathroom is nice. I mean, that's a benefit.
Yeah. But they don't have upstairs, they have downstairs.
Oh, well, that's less of a benefit. Then we've got condensation issues. They just didn't ventilate the room, and maybe the extractor isn't working, got mold. Not a big problem, just clean everything properly and make sure that there's extraction. I don't see any extractors in here, but then the guy hasn't done a full sweep of the room, so I don't know for sure. All right, and downstairs bedroom, I think. Yes, again, it's a bungalow with a dormer.
Yeah, and then
great. Kitchen is a nice size. It's good if you've got elderly people who want to rent and they just need to live on one floor and so on. Boiler is looking a bit tired, might need replacing. This is definitely 1990s. The reason I know this is because older kitchens used to use
around 3,000, so 2,000, 3,000. So
yeah,
it's a lot of renovation. It will go up to 20.
I think so. I think so. And I think it's getting more into the avoid zone.
Yeah, if it was the better location, yes, I will go for it. But this is near Bolton. So
And the other issues, you've got this dormer, and this isn't
yeah.
usable space at the edge. I mean, it's kind of usable, but you can't stand up. And you're going to have issues with insulation underneath that. Yeah, it definitely feels like it's creeping towards the 20 grand mark. Okay.
It's nice, but I will not stick my cash in renovation for this property because it's like bungalow.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a.
It's a nice, but not the best property.
All right, let's have a quick look at this one, this exterior view. It's a decent area, nice cars, nice people, but it's more senior, I would say. So I haven't seen the demographics for this, but we'll have a look in a minute. And I would say, you know, the more older end of the range, so over 40 average age, I would have thought, but we'll find out in a minute. And concrete tiles for all of these. These concrete tiles are great, but this is the old one out with the slate, the faux effect slate. All right, let's have a look at the demographics around here. Now, the rule of thumb with Bolton is if you're buying in Bolton, you buy kind of on the south side.
Yes. The demographics here are nice.
Yeah, they're decent. They are decent demographics.
Yeah, because the houses are nice, really, but I'm not happy with the condition of the property.
The average age. So the story with this area is that once upon a time, it was a nice place to live. And you had lots of nice houses, new built in the 70s.
There are bungalows.
It was a very 70s thing, dormer bungalows. And in hindsight, the 70s was a bad time for buildings, I would say. So all these people are getting older, and therefore it's an old area. And these kind of houses appeal to older people. What this means for renting is a less attractive pool of renters. Elderly people, great to rent to, but they don't have so much money. And therefore, that's a problem. So very low crime, very, 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 very low crime.
Yep.
Very quiet, good demographics, low crime, but it's the wrong kind of crowd for this kind of property. And as I said, I expected the age to be over 40. It's 53, so it kind of validates. Very low private rented and social rented. It's reassuring if you have an area, if you have the right kind of property and you have low private rented, well, great, grab a house because it'll rent. Anything below 20% private rented, you're all good to go. Strong demographics, but yeah. Okay, let's have a look at the capital growth. Not great. And I know why, because people don't want to live in these kind of houses. That's basically it. And there's quite a lot of churn, but not that much, quite a lot. So properties are being sold, but people aren't bidding the price up because they just don't really like the houses, in a nutshell. And we can see that there was a lot of growth. It broadly, the growth is not that strong long term. Again, and short term, not that strong at all relative to other areas. So if we look at this spot here, for example, then it's this that's driving the market because everything north of it is basically green. So you've got a town, a little village here, but really this area is being driven by this. High demographics, all good. Same story here. Yeah, it's a disappointment, really. Yeah, okay. In respect to rentals, now this is a new thing. So we'll talk about this in more detail. I'll send you a link. It'd be interesting if you could check that out. For capital growth, the overall area is strong, but this is bad patch in a good area, basically. And also, it's not so quick to rent and sell. And I'll just finally do one thing, which is show you BL2. It's good for rent. It would rent at the right price, it will sell at the right price, but the growth, certainly in this little patch, not great. But BL2 is a much bigger catchment, and BL2 as a whole is strong because it's kind of out here somewhere. So in fact, let me just quickly get the postcode district boundary, because I think that will help. And okay, if I can't get it,
I think we.
Yeah, okay, well, let's move on because that's not helpful to me dawdling.
Yeah.
Over to you, Martin.
Yeah, I will just share quickly the screen. And you can see there is a lot of bungalow here. All of the houses are like more elderly people. And you can see a lot of bungalow on the other side nearby. But some of them did extension, and this is like the property. And like the area is nice, people care about it because they have a lot of extensions on going on in the round. It's okay, but it's more like elderly people who live. Yeah, and there is no data for last sale. There is no data. No, 2013 is the last. 2003 is the last sale for 102. It's leasehold. EPC doesn't have it need to be done, but I think it will be E, or I'm not sure that it will be D. And there is no any coal mining issued because the property is here and the coal minings are far away. So, and also there is no risk, and the issue is to find similar property nearby. It's really hard. They don't have basically this kind of properties. There is no similar. So based on the rent, I think it will rent nicely, but I'm not sure that this not the same. This is similar, but it's not the same. This is type of 180. So, and for this property, it's asking price 170. So let's compare this to check the condition and so on. This is same type of property, just to be sure. So it's much better. Yep. And floor plan, they made it differently. They make 2 bedrooms. So I think they have more. Let me check the photo. So I think 170. It's a lot just because of the condition. I think the rent will be around 900, but I am not sure now because of the because the floor it's not enough high. So I think the rent will not be high. So I think the rent will be around 825 and 850 maximum. Let's say 850 by 12, and you take it for 170. Let's for the asking price and spend 20k to renovate. So that's 190. It's 5.4, which is not great. On the first, it was looking better, but it's not because I was thinking it will not need a lot of renovation.
Yeah, there's so many lurking issues, but this is why we have viewer videos.
Yeah.
So we can see what the problems are, and yeah, there we go. The other lesson is that you have to assume the worst with estate agent pictures.
Yeah, but it doesn't look that worse.
I know, it actually looks very tidy.
Yeah, and I was expecting just painting and redecorating. It looked like it has some damp, I didn't think, but...
All right, well, let's
score it.
Score it, and here we go. I'm going to just share this. All right, so a couple of things just to say very briefly, just on capital growth. I've done a little change here, and we can see BL2, which is this catchment here. Overall, it's very good, but it's all in the detail, and this is why this granular detail is so helpful. All right, let's score on the doors. Condition, I'm going to go 2.5. I think it's in pretty horrific condition, actually. Location, Martin?
Yeah, location, yep. As I said, it's like a nice quiet area. It have really close by the market. It's transport, so it's good. Not the best, I think 3.7.
Okay. And the area? The overall area?
Yeah, it's okay.
The trouble is it's kind of too far away from Manchester. It's too much in the Bolton catchment.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 3.6. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah. 3.6, 3.7, 3.5
Yeah.
around.
Now
So
the thing is, the big scores are in the capital growth and the yield, which we'll talk about. Crime, it's exceptionally quiet.
4. Yeah. I think more 4.5 because it's really quiet.
Demographics, actually, demographics isn't just social class, it's all the other factors. And actually the demographics aren't great because it's not a family area. You're looking for younger income earners as opposed to that. So crime, I'll just tickle that up.
Better.
Yeah, and capital growth, it's not great. 3.5, it's okay. It's
Sell
okay.
time. I don't think that this property will sell because of the problems.
Yeah,
but it will sell.
It'll rent fairly quickly, but it'll sell slow. And yield, what are we giving that?
3.5. So
that's a relatively low score.
Yeah, I think when I see the condition first, I said like, oh no, like.
Yeah.
Plus, I wasn't sure because of the highedness in the rooms. I mean, how high they are, how you can use the space, the rent, because it's not really nice. So the rent will not be that high as other semi-detached house.
I think if that property was like £135,000, I think it would be a goer. But it's just way overpriced.
Yeah, 170. I will. To be honest, if you take it for 160, it will be good. But 170 and more, then.
So the reason I'm saying 135 is because I just don't like bungalows with dormers. I just think you lose so much usable space. They're just not a great design, and based on the design alone, it would have to be a cheap house. It would have to yield 7% before I'd really pay attention to it. I just don't like those designs. I think 3-bed semis, they work because they're a good design, for instance. So anyway, there it is. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And let us know what you want to do.